I refused to hand over my car to my cousin after my uncle decided. I didn't really need it. For the last 5 years, I've been juggling work and school in a way that feels like running on a treadmill that never slows down. I worked mornings at a cafe, evenings doing delivery apps, weekends helping at a hardware store. This isn't a place where public transport works unless you enjoy waiting an hour for a bus that may or may not show up. Having a car wasn't a luxury for me. It was the only reason I could keep all my jobs and still make it to class on time. My parents always said they'd help me get on my feet. Not handouts, just support. We'll make sure you're not stuck, my mom used to say. But whenever something actually came up, tuition gaps, laptop repairs, medical bills, it was always, now's not a good time. So I learned early that if I wanted stability, I had to build it myself. I saved for years and eventually bought a used car outright. Nothing fancy. 10 years old, a few dents. The AC only works when it feels like it, but it was mine. No payments, no debt. Just freedom. My uncle, on the other hand, has never been great with money. He jumps from idea to idea, job to job, always convinced the next thing will finally work out. His son, my cousin Ryan, just turned 18. Good kid. Not lazy, but not exactly responsible either. He got into a local college and suddenly needed transportation. My uncle complained about it nonstop. Every family gathering turned into a speech about how hard things were, how no one ever helped him, how unfair life had been. I mostly tuned it out. I'd heard it my whole life. Last month, we had a big family lunch at my grandparents' place. Everyone was there, crowded around plastic tables in the backyard. I showed up late because of work. As soon as I parked, I noticed my uncle eyeing my car like it had personally offended him. I didn't think much of it. Inside, people were eating, talking, laughing. Normal family stuff. Then my aunt asked me how school was going, and I mentioned I'd picked up another shift because gas prices were killing me. That's when my uncle jumped in. Well, at least you've got a car, he said loudly. Some people aren't so lucky. I nodded and said, yeah, I worked hard for it. I thought that would be the end. It wasn't. He leaned back in his chair and said, you know, Ryan really needs a car for school, and you're barely using yours during the day since you're in class. I laughed a little, thinking he was hinting at borrowing it sometimes. Then he said, you should just give it to him. The table went quiet. I actually asked him to repeat himself because I thought I'd misheard. He smiled like this was the most reasonable thing in the world. You can manage without it. You're young. You can take the bus. Ryan needs it more. My mom chimed in before I could respond. Well, you do live close to campus, she said carefully. My dad avoided eye contact, suddenly very interested in his plate. I said no, calmly, just no. It's my car. I need it for work. My uncle's smile vanished. So you're really choosing convenience over your own family? He asked. Ryan just stared at the table, clearly uncomfortable. My uncle kept going. I raised my kids without help. Now I'm asking for one thing and you won't step up? I reminded him I paid for the car myself, every cent, and that I wasn't responsible for solving his problems. That's when things escalated. He raised his voice saying I was selfish, that I didn't understand real struggle. My mom said maybe there's a compromise. I asked what compromise involved me giving up the one thing that keeps my life functioning. No one answered that. My uncle finally said, if you cared about family, you'd do this. Something snapped in me then. I said if family cared about me, they wouldn't demand. I sacrificed my stability to make up for someone else's lack of planning. People were watching by that point. Conversations around us had stopped. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and said I was leaving. My uncle called after me. Don't expect help from us again. I didn't turn around. I drove home shaking, not from fear, but from anger and disbelief. My phone blew up that night. Messages about how I embarrassed my uncle, how I should think about Ryan's future, how family makes sacrifices. I didn't respond. Because the truth is, I've been making sacrifices for years. Quiet ones. And I was done letting people decide that what I earned was theirs to give away.